On any of our sites, it's company policy not to expect anyone to lift anything that may cause injury. But just as a refresher, we'd like you to always take these points into account before lifting any items on our site. Can you safely lift the load? If it looks heavy, it probably is. Is it too heavy to lift on your own? Is it too large? Is it an awkward shape? Do you need any help? Is there any provisions that could be used to help you with the lift? For example, a trolley, a pallet truck, or a forklift. We never want you to take any chances in lifting anything on our site. If in doubt, simply ask for help. Something to bear in mind when doing any manual handling is that the force required will increase if the conditions are not perfect. For example, the wheels on the equipment you're using are not in the right position, or the device is poorly maintained. Also, if you're moving loads over soft or uneven surfaces, this can also require greater forces, but using larger wheels could offset this. Pushing and pulling forces will also increase if a ramp or slope is to be negotiated. But if you're ever in any doubt, ask for help before lifting anything.
So before we lift, carry, team lift or push pull, we should always look at doing a dynamic risk assessment.
You should perform a dynamic risk assessment before undertaking any manual handling task. A dynamic risk assessment doesn't involve reams of paperwork. In fact, it is an on-the-spot assessment of the activity that's about to be performed. You do this all the time subconsciously. For instance, every time you cross a road, you perform a dynamic risk assessment. You wait until it's safe to cross.
Before we do any manual handling, really want to carry out a dynamic risk assessment. This involves looking at four main categories. Looking at the task, the individual, the load and the environment. And we do this before we push-pull an item, we do this before we team lift or even individual lift. So under the task, could this task be avoided? Is there any manual handling equipment that should be doing it for us? Yeah? Is the route clear? What's the height we're going to be lifting from? So looking at the individual, are you capable? Is there any reason that you shouldn't be carrying out that manual handling task? Are you pregnant? Is there any reason you shouldn't be doing that? They're looking at the load itself, so are there any good handholds? Can I slide it towards me before lifting? Should I split the load? Rather than lifting one 20, 30 kilogram tote, why are we not splitting that into two sections? Are there any labels on it telling us not to lift this load? Do I need assistance? Should this actually be a team lift? And then under the environment, is there too much traffic around you, people traffic? Is there a likelihood that you could have a collision? Could anything fall down? Is the lighting not good enough? If we consider all these things, then there's a high likelihood we're not going to be getting injured.
Cumulative injuries is defined as damage that has gradually built up over a long period of time, leading to an injury. There is a growing belief amongst medical professionals that the majority of handling-related injuries are the result of the accumulation of actions, not just one.
Okay, so it's obvious when we're moving a DOLAV that we're going to have to pull it and push it. We can't just push it away from here, but I think it's the one thing to really be sure of is assessing your situation. So we're still undertaking a tile risk assessment. It's in your head, a dynamic assessment. T stands for task, I is the individual, L is looking at the load, and E is the environment. Now the environment is a big thing to consider, especially in your sites. Looking around you, is there traffic? Yeah, are you going to harm anyone? Are you going to trip over? Look at your surroundings. So before we do any push-pull, I would always consider just checking your surroundings before we go through with the manoeuvre. So when we're looking at pushing and pulling, it's essential we try and get power from the legs. Common poor technique that we see, especially with pulling, is extending the back. Just illustrated here, if I pull, I'm in that position, feet together, and there's a lean to get it going. That's a lot of pressure here in the lower back. Also, could be argued that it's not very controlled. The foot position is not very stable. We're in that position, feet close together and extend, not very stable. We start looking at slightly better technique, we're going to look at stability. So we want a nice, firm, stable base. So we get 1 foot forward, 1 foot back, a little bit of a dip from the legs, because this is where we want our power to come from, okay? So get the puck truck to the height you want, a nice staggered stance. The slight lowering of the legs, softening of the knees is going to activate all of the larger muscles, your quads, your glutes and your abdominals, and then the drive comes from those levels there. It's exactly the same but reversed with pushing. A lot of the time, see feet together, people leaning in to get it going. Again, not very controlled with the foot position. Slight unstable base. Very little power coming from the larger leg muscles that we have to utilise in our lower limbs. So again, good staggered base, tuck in the arms into that position, just soften the legs. The power for the movement is utilised from the legs and it's a drive forward into that position rather than the lean into here. So putting that all together, a good pushing, pulling technique, dipping the legs slightly, activating the leg muscles, driving in that position, and there's the power. Pushing, feet slightly staggered, the drive comes from the leg muscles. The other one, to try and avoid to get the load moving, is just using one arm. It's a lot of stress on the shoulder joint there, not very powerful. Looking at moving these dolabs, very tempting just to lean forward and slide the whole body weight. A lot of pressure on the back there. If I was going to pull it going into that position, can we soften the legs a little bit? If we get a good stance, one foot in front of the other, just dip. Power should be coming from the legs with that position there. That's where the power comes from, rather than leaning or sliding in that position. Just get the legs doing the work. Again, pushing it forward should all come from the legs. Dip, we're in that position, and then that moving upwards. The power comes from the legs.
When pushing and pulling a load, the process is similar to lifting. First, assess, tile, then get stable stance. Then you must lower your centre of gravity to ensure that you have a steady footing and generate power from the legs with your hips square on the load. Keep your spine straight and always face the load at all times. When lifting as part of a team, we use this method. TILE, which is an acronym that aims to help you carry out a manual handling risk assessment. TILE stands for Task. How far do you have to carry the load? Is it easy to carry, and is it oddly shaped or uneven in weight? Individual. What capabilities do you possess? Height, build, strength. Can you carry this by yourself, or do you need some help? Load. Is it easy to carry, and is it oddly shaped or uneven in weight? And environment. Is a clear route available? Orientate yourself, taking your surroundings into account at all times. Lastly, you should always communicate and wear the right PPE for the job. But if you're lifting as a team, nominate a leader, give clear commands, and make sure everyone is ready or aware of the route.
So we're looking at team lifting, really essential that we get the communication right. Everyone knows what they're doing, whether there's 2, 3 or 4 people in the lift. Obviously, nice simple pallet. It's going to be ready, steady, lift on the way up, and it'll be ready, steady, lower on the way down. So good foot position, ready, steady, lift. Ready, steady, lower. Ready, steady, lift. Ready, steady, lower.
If you ever feel like you're unsure about a particular topic, don't hesitate to contact your manager for clarification. Remember, what sets Pilgrim apart is our team, and it's only by working as a team that we can continue our success. Thank you for watching. and welcome to Pilgrim Foods.